Have you ever wondered how a spoonful of ordinary sugar transforms into thousands of silky strands in just a few seconds? And why does a giant cloud of cotton candy seem to vanish almost instantly the moment it touches your tongue? What if I told you that a single serving contains miles of microscopic sugar threads, each so thin that moisture can destroy them almost immediately? Today, we're taking you inside the fascinating world of cotton candy factories to uncover the science, engineering, and surprising chemistry behind one of America's most iconic treats. From giant sugar mixers to high-speed spinning machines, you'll see exactly how cotton candy is made on an industrial scale and learn why this fluffy carnival favorite has such a short life once it's exposed to air. Let's get started. From simple sugar to factory production. One of the most surprising things about cotton candy is how simple it is. The primary ingredient is ordinary granulated sugar, also known as sucrose. Most commercial manufacturers add food coloring and flavoring, but sugar remains the star of the show. In large factories, production begins with carefully measured batches of sugar. Precision matters because consistency is everything. Manufacturers need every package of cotton candy to have the same taste, color, and texture. The sugar is transferred into industrial mixing systems where flavorings and approved food colorings are blended evenly throughout the batch. Depending on the brand, flavors may include classic pink vanilla, blue raspberry, cherry, grape, watermelon, or other specialty varieties. Once the sugar mixture is prepared, it moves to the most important stage of the entire process, spinning. The machine that changed everything. Cotton candy wasn't always easy to make. Before specialized machines existed, spun sugar was an expensive decoration typically reserved for professional confectioners. That changed at the end of the 19th century when inventors developed a machine capable of producing large amounts of spun sugar quickly and consistently. Modern factory equipment still relies on the same basic principle. At the center of the machine sits a rotating metal head containing heating elements. Sugar is fed into this spinning chamber, where it begins to heat up. As the temperature rises, the sugar crystals melt into a thick liquid. The spinning head rotates at extremely high speed, while tiny openings around its perimeter allow the molten sugar to escape. This is where the real magic happens. How liquid sugar becomes thousands of threads. As the machine spins, centrifugal force pushes the melted sugar outward through microscopic holes. Imagine squeezing toothpaste through a tiny nozzle, except the sugar is moving much faster and the openings are far smaller. The moment the liquid sugar exits the spinning head, it encounters cooler surrounding air. Because the strands are incredibly thin, they cool almost instantly. Within fractions of a second, the liquid sugar solidifies into delicate hair-like fibers. Instead of forming crystals again, the sugar freezes into an extremely fine glass-like structure. Scientists describe this as an amorphous state, meaning the molecules are arranged randomly rather than in the orderly pattern found in normal sugar crystals. The result is a floating web of sugar threads so fine that thousands of them can gather into a cloud-like mass, weighing only a few ounces. It's essentially a sugar skyscraper built from microscopic strands and mostly empty space. Collecting the cotton candy. Once the fibers are formed, they begin accumulating around a large collection chamber. In amusement parks, workers typically gather the strands using paper cones. In factories, however, automated systems often perform this task. Specialized equipment continuously collects, shapes, and portions the fluffy material into consistent sizes. Some production lines package the cotton candy immediately into sealed containers. Others compress it slightly before packaging to improve storage and transportation. Speed is critical here. The longer cotton candy remains exposed to open air, the more vulnerable it becomes to humidity. That's because its enormous surface area acts like a moisture magnet. Why cotton candy melts instantly? Now for the question that has fascinated generations of fairgoers and candy lovers. Why does a giant puff of cotton candy seem to disappear the moment it touches your tongue? The answer comes down to surface area and moisture. Cotton candy is made up of thousands upon thousands of ultra-thin sugar strands. Although the candy may look large, most of its volume is actually empty space filled with air. The sugar itself is spread out into an enormous network of microscopic fibers. When cotton candy enters your mouth, those fibers immediately encounter saliva. Because each strand is so thin, moisture can reach nearly every part of the candy at once. The sugar dissolves rapidly, causing the fluffy structure to collapse almost instantly. What feels like melting is actually very fast dissolution. The sugar is simply dissolving into the moisture on your tongue. This is very different from hard candy. A lollipop contains the same basic ingredient, sugar, but in a dense, solid mass. Saliva can only attack the outer surface at first, so it takes much longer to dissolve. Cotton candy, on the other hand, exposes an enormous amount of sugar surface to moisture all at once. It's like comparing a solid block of ice to freshly fallen snow. The secret enemy: humidity. Your mouth isn't the only thing that can destroy cotton candy. Humidity is its greatest natural enemy. Remember the glass-like sugar structure we talked about earlier? That structure is highly hygroscopic, meaning it readily absorbs water from the surrounding environment. When cotton candy sits in humid air, water molecules begin attaching themselves to the sugar fibers. As moisture accumulates, the delicate strands soften and eventually collapse. The fluffy cloud gradually shrinks, becoming sticky, dense, and clumpy. Anyone who has left cotton candy out overnight has seen this happen firsthand. In regions with high humidity, unprotected cotton candy can begin deteriorating surprisingly quickly. That's why manufacturers work hard to minimize exposure during production and packaging. How factories keep cotton candy fresh. Modern cotton candy factories use several strategies to preserve the product's signature texture. One of the most important steps is rapid packaging. As soon as the cotton candy is collected and portioned, it is transferred into sealed bags, tubs, or containers designed to limit moisture exposure. The goal is to trap the candy in a controlled environment before humidity can reach it. Many facilities also carefully monitor temperature and relative humidity throughout production areas. Excess moisture in the air can reduce product quality and shorten shelf life. Packaging materials play a major role as well. Manufacturers often use moisture-resistant films and airtight seals that help protect the fragile sugar strands during storage, transportation, and retail display. Without these protective measures, cotton candy would lose much of its fluffy appeal long before reaching store shelves. A remarkable example of food science. From a food science perspective, cotton candy is surprisingly sophisticated. The manufacturing process relies on several important physical principles working together. First, heat melts the sugar crystals into liquid form. Second, centrifugal force pushes the liquid through tiny openings. Third, rapid cooling transforms the liquid into fine solid fibers. Finally, the resulting network of strands creates the airy texture that makes cotton candy unique. What makes the product especially interesting is that the sugar never becomes chemically different. The molecular structure remains essentially the same. The factory changes the physical form of the sugar rather than creating a new substance. In other words, cotton candy is still sugar. It just exists in an incredibly thin and delicate arrangement. That simple transformation creates a completely different eating experience, from carnivals to supermarkets. For more than a century, cotton candy has remained a favorite at fairs, amusement parks, sporting events, and celebrations across America. Despite advances in manufacturing technology, the basic science behind cotton candy has changed very little. Modern factories may use sophisticated automation, precision controls, and advanced packaging systems, but they still rely on the same fascinating process of melting, spinning, and cooling sugar into microscopic threads. It's a perfect example of how a simple ingredient can be transformed into something that feels almost magical. So the next time you see a giant cloud of pink or blue cotton candy, you'll know exactly what's happening behind the scenes. Do like and subscribe if you love exploring the science behind popular food.